today's one of those days, man, I flew out of bed. Just like, wow, I could not feel better. Part of it might be those back spasms stopped, but...
Good.
But...
And you got golf today, too, so that's big.
Exactly. So the back spasm will be back by 8 o'clock tonight when I watch the Warrior game. But does everybody sort of feel like I do, which is that we've been waiting for this version of 49er football that I think we're going to get on Sunday or whatever it is we're going to get? We have been waiting. That bye week, that feels sometimes like a long time, but especially here when you sort of see what has developed with the 49ers, and my God, do we have a football hour coming up starting at 10. Listen to this, okay? First of all, I'll also tell you that at 10 o'clock, somewhere between 10 and 10:15, who wants to go to a Warrior game? Anybody want to go to a Warrior game?
I kind of do.
You want to go to a Warrior game? We got tickets to a Warrior game. Pair of tickets to the Warriors as they take on Utah, November 25th, Chase Center. Be sure to listen between 10 and 10:15. You'll hear this sounder right here. As soon as you hear that the next time, don't do it now. Please don't do it now. Please.
Don't do it.
Put your phone down, I said. Please, between 10 and 10:15, the next time you hear that sounder, be caller 5, and you'll win a pair of tickets. We'll give you the number then. I'm not going to give it to you now because you're going to call it now. You won't win anything. Okay? So caller 5 at the time. And you'll get a pair of tickets to Warriors Jazz, November 25 at Chase Center. But outside of that, listen to the football hour that we're throwing at you at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Brian Baldinger.
Big.
Baldy's Breakdowns. 10:30, our very good friend, the great Rich Ornberger. First of all, we'll ask him about his cheat days because today's a holiday. Wait till you hear what this former offensive lineman used to put down on what he called a cheat day.
Okay.
But he's also a former Charger and radio host in San Diego where they do still talk a lot about the Chargers even though they turned their back on them. And then Sean Salisbury at 11.
That's big.
So we're
going to... trifecta right there.
It's really good, right? So I can't wait to talk to all of them about where this team sits because they left us with a nice win, a good taste in the mouth, but also a disappointing first 8 games. They should be better than 4-4.
Should be 6-2.
But there's the feeling with McCaffrey in and health on the way and a landscape in the NFC that could not be more inviting. There is the drumbeat that this team is about to go on a damn run.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm confident in it. And I don't see how they don't end up in the playoffs unless something injury-wise goes really sideways in the second half.
And they said it themselves that they're ready to go on a run. I think it was Fred Warner who said that they're ready to go on a run. And any run starts with one win, and that would be Sunday night against the Chargers. And certainly they should be in a great spot to win that game, 7-point favorites. And, you know, thoughts real quick with Jason Verrett, who his career ended for the eighth time. It appears he has had a career-ending injury, but knowing Jason, he probably will work his way back.
I mean,
would you count him out?
I wonder. This is something. No, I won't count him out.
Second Achilles tendon rupture.
We want to talk to Rich Ornberger about this, by the way, because, and those of you who don't know, Jason Verrett, when he was with the Chargers, on one of these major injuries, and he's had 28 of them, it seems.
Right.
On one of them, he was kind enough during that injury season to say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do, like, he signed a weekly contract with the radio station for which I worked, and Rich still does. But because he was hurt, he came in. He would come to the radio station every single week. And so we all got to know him a little bit and got some of the behind the scenes of these injuries and what had taken place. But the tail of the tape right now, if I've got this correct, I think it's 2 torn ACLs and 2 Achilles.
Unheard of.
That he's now had.
Yeah.
And there have been a number of other injuries.
A myriad of other injuries,
that you would think were major injuries, but they're not because of 2 ACLs and 2 Achilles. I think he's had a meniscus. He's had all of this stuff. And I think he's contemplated retirement now at least 3 times.
Right.
And each time he's decided to give it another go. And here we are again, and it being another Achilles, it's got to be like, this has to be it. And if you watched or listened to any of his teammates talk about the feeling at practice 2 days ago when this happened, because it's one of those injuries where you know right away.
Yeah.
And George Kittle said he's never seen a field that quiet.
Exactly.
In his entire career. Like, this really got the Adam's apple of this football team.
And you know, as a football player, what you all go through just to make it through from one day to the next. And to see a player like Jason Verrett, who's been through 2 ACLs and an Achilles already and a myriad of other injuries, so many games lost, and yet he continues to fight his way back. And here he is with his practice window open, and it looks like he might actually be cleared to go and get back on the field and complete that rehab yet again and be able to play football again, and to have it be cut short in a practice. It'd be one thing if it happened during a game. At least you could say, hey, kid, you made it back. You made it all the way back. But for him to be this close to coming back, it reminds you of Klay Thompson, but it's Klay Thompson times 10.
Sure. Yeah, because at least Klay, I mean, knock on wood, Klay has now had essentially a full year. I know he didn't play till January, but he was with the team and working out, and they were building toward it. Won another championship. Look, Jay Fiva had one elite year with the 49ers. Like, he had one with all of his time here now. It's been 4 years, but he had one full season where he was elite.
You call him Jay Fever?
That's his Twitter, Jay Fiva. Yeah, Jay Fiva.
No,
right?
you slipped that in so.
Yeah, sorry.
Sounds like a Jama Malalela. You slipped that in so seamlessly.
Malalela.
I was like,
I like your confidence is growing on Malalela.
Yeah, I'm coming around. You dropped the Jay Fiva, and I wasn't sure if you were still talking about Jason Verrett.
No, I got the Fiva for the flavor of the Jason. Okay,
I got the Fiva.
Yeah, the Jay Fiva. He had one really elite season, followed by a season where now they were like relying on him. They're like, okay, you're back. You're our number one corner, and boom, he goes down again. Torn ACL, works his way all the way back to this. Setback, works his way all the way back to this. Tears the Achilles literally the week where he might have ended up being activated. So it's just. It's devastating on a personal level, and I know for fans, you know, that's not the way most of us look at it. It's like, oh gosh, too bad, we move on to the next. Who's going to play for us this weekend? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it could end up, and I want to make sure I say this the right way, it could end up that this was the only way that Jason could have actually helped the 49ers this year. Because he will be totally on their minds and in their hearts, and they do need to go out and have a final 9-game stretch where they play really well. Like, I would be so disappointed if they don't win 6 of these remaining 9. I don't think they have to make the playoffs with the way it is.
5 of the 9 would be fine.
5 is fine, but I would be very disappointed if they don't get to 10 wins, because flat out they should. And you wonder if Jason's story and having it happen right in front of everybody will only further inspire them the rest of the way.
As if they needed further inspiration, which they didn't, but to have this, absolutely yes. And I was reading the same reports of fellow players saying how devastating it was and how eerily quiet it was on the field when he went down and he didn't get up. Because, you know, any play in any practice or any game, a player's down on the field and you wait for that moment of, okay, can they get up? And they might be a little bit hurt, but can they get up on their own? And then you see a player who's down and you realize it's Jay Fiva and you realize he's not getting up on his own. And then you start to think about what the injury history of that player is, and you realize what it could be, and it just hits you. So this team does not need additional motivation, but they have it now.
I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, and in Achilles, I think, you know, it's one of those, like, the player, you know right away. You can feel it. Sometimes you can hear it.
Yeah.
You know, we've watched when Klay, obviously we didn't see when Klay did it. We watched when Kobe Bryant did it years ago. It's like he went out and shot free throws and then limped off. But you just know, you know when it feels like someone kicked you in the Achilles. And so I'm sure the whole team and the doctors and everyone knew right away. And it's just emotionally devastating. But off they go to carry that into these final 9 games. And I believe what I was saying during the changeover, Dibs. Like, sure, anything can happen. It's sports. There are injuries. I don't need to tell a 49er fan that. But go look at your NFC standings board. Go team by team. This is an exercise. Don't just look at the record. I don't want to hear the Rams are 3-5. They're only a game behind the 49ers, even though the Niners have 2 games in hand. Go through the exercise of how on earth are the 49ers not going to end up in the playoffs? And I don't think you can come up with a rational answer other than disaster injury. You can't come up with a rational answer because these teams that are supposedly chasing them are not only bad, they're last year's first-place clubs. You know what that means? They've got the hardest schedules. Don't give me Rams. Don't give me Packers. Look at what they've got. I think the Packers, their next 3 weeks, Dallas, Tennessee, Philadelphia. Dude, night. You're done. You're done, and you're already behind the 49ers. So it's so amazing in the NFL how you can go from sky is falling to we got this in one game. In one game. The Niners went to play the Rams.
In one non-game.
And one non-game.
Think about the non-game that they had this week, and
Crazy.
You see all of the teams around them fall. Mark, there's only 5 teams in the NFC with a winning record, and I'm not counting the Niners at 500.
Not a winning record.
3 teams in the NFC East, Minnesota and Seattle, and you still have a crack at Seattle, and you hold that tiebreaker. So you mentioned it. You look across the NFC as a conference, all the teams in the South are below. Green Bay's below, they're reeling. The Rams and Cardinals play this weekend. Neither will have their starting quarterback. Both are beleaguered and on the ropes. The Commanders are a half game behind you, but you still have a game against the Commanders. I'm just saying, Mark.
Right.
Teams
They have to come to Levi's.
Or around you. Atlanta is now a full game behind you, having spit the bit last night in a chance. They had a chance, though, to take some control of the NFC South, and they couldn't. So the NFC South winner might be 7-10. You still have a shot at Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Those games should be victories. You've got Washington, which should be a win, and a home game this Sunday off a bye. You're in a great spot as the Niners.
I'm going to do it. I tried it once in baseball, and I came out looking like a complete idiot. I looked like a moron. Do you remember about 4 games into the National League season?
It was longer than that.
We already know.
It was bold.
Already know who the 7 teams are. Well, I got rid of the Braves after what was a really bad start, and then they ended up winning 100 baseball games. Right. They were incredible.
And I don't know if you had the Milwaukee St. Louis one.
I think I had them both in.
Yeah, you didn't have Philly in.
Right. I sent Milwaukee. I sent St. Louis. I sent the Mets.
Yeah.
I sent the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres.
True.
And was that it? Is that 7 teams?
That's
1, 2,
6.
3, 4, 5. That's 6. Who was the other team? Maybe it was Philadelphia.
I think maybe you had Milwaukee and St. Louis.
No, I did. That was those 2, the 3 from the West, the Mets, and I think maybe I did put Philadelphia in. But it was the Braves, so I'm like, well, yeah. And then the Braves were amazing, and the Giants were the team that fell apart.
I the Expos in, if I recall. I might have that wrong.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now.
You're doing it and doing it well?
I'm doing it. So here it is.
Your 7 NFC playoff teams, and I hope you don't on the NFC South. I hope you actually...
Well...
I want you to step up,
Can't
Mark.
I?
You can act like a man.
Do I have to pick a team? Can't I just say NFC South winner? NFC South winner. Fine. Bucks.
Thank you. Was that so hard?
Yeah. They're terrible.
They're all terrible.
They're terrible.
They're all terrible.
Why are they favored again this weekend? Cross the pond going against Seattle. It's classically the 2 teams that Vegas and us collectively, we won't believe it. We won't believe Seattle's good, and we won't believe that Tom Brady's bad.
Right.
And so Seattle is +3 in Germany. They are way better. Now, it's the NFL. Watch Tampa's going to go out and win this game by 4 points.
I like Tampa in that spot.
Maybe. But
that's a tough travel spot for Seattle, even though they're going over the North Pole.
Way better football team. Period. I
still am not believing in Seattle.
Anyway.
But here are Mark Willard's 7 NFC playoff teams given to you on this Veterans Day.
It's done. It is November 11th. And thank you to all of our veterans.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And then you'll thank me once I give you these 7 playoff teams, and I'm right.
Although your impact on our country slightly less than the veterans.
Just a touch.
Just a skosh. Thank you for the tunes.
Number 1.
Okay.
The Philadelphia Eagles are going to the playoffs.
Out on a limb, people. Nobody goes out on a limb like my partner.
Number 2. The Minnesota Vikings are going to the playoffs.
Man, this guy's taking all the chances, Spadone.
What up, Lizzo? Minnesota Vikings. Am I right? Am I right? What up, Lizzo? Number 3. The Dallas Cowboys are going to the playoffs.
Okay.
Number 4.
Hell yeah.
San Francisco 49ers are going to the playoffs.
At number 4?
No, this is just whatever.
Okay.
Whatever order. No, because the Cowboys can't be number 4. The Eagles are going to win that division.
Yeah,
Cowboys
sure.
can't be that's number 5. Anyway, I already gave you the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah. That's number 5.
Number 6.
Okay.
New York Football Giants.
They're in.
They're going to get there.
Danny Dimes?
They're 6-2.
He's getting paid.
At number 7, the Seahawks are going to the playoffs. That's it. There's your 7 teams.
Those are my 7?
That group will not be penetrated by anyone.
Who wins the West? You still think the Niners win the West?
I do. And actually,
Niners get the 3 seed then?
They
would host the Giants or Seattle.
The only reason I think the 49ers can still win it is they do have the game in hand against Seattle. I do think the two teams could end up tied. So even if the 49ers lose on December 15th in Seattle, there's still tiebreaker possibilities because that would only be a split, and the 49ers have a little leg up on the division because of the sweep of the Rams. They're 3-0 right now in the division, so I'm loving the 49ers tiebreakers there. Yes, it could get tough. These next 4 games are going to tell the story, and there are only 2 questions. Seattle, are you real? Because if you are, you're going to win 3 of these next 4 at least.
Yeah.
They're going to be. They're not favored this week, but they're the better team in these next 4 games. And 49ers, are you who we thought you were? Are you now going to go on this run that we're all predicting, even though nothing in the first 8 games said run? Are you going to go do that now, and are you going to start that with a good performance against the Chargers on Sunday night? I think we're going to know a lot by 8:30 on Sunday night about the NFC West. Seattle has got to play Tampa Bay in Europe, and then they'll go into their bye week either 7-3 or 6-4.
Right.
If they come out of there 6-4, and then the 49ers are 5-4, and they put on a good performance against the Chargers, then you know who the better team is, especially since they already played head-to-head, and the Niners whipped that.
Yeah, that trick.
Yes.
You could have just gone with that.
I was actually thinking about the A word.
But I know,
anyway,
but you know, in light of the Memphis Warriors series, you could have whooped that trick.
I could say it, yes.
And
yes.
that would have been
I like to,
equally appropriate.
Yeah.
You're very PG. Sometimes you will dip into the PG-13.
I know, and it's a day off from school, and therefore I know that all the people who I don't want to use that language in front of, you're not out of bed yet. Let's be honest.
Your whole household is what you're saying.
I got 3 kids and a bunch of sleepers. All right,
so
these
people,
3
kids and a bunch.
These
of
people are not awake at 9:52 on Veterans Day.
On a day off, on a 3-day weekend.
Little guy is. He probably running around with bedhead, but those teenagers. Holy hell.
Yeah, no chance.
We'll see if they make noon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What happens when you get home at 12, let's say 12:45, and they're still in bed? Is that okay with you as a dad?
No, I'd grab them by the ear and yank them into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Say, eat something.
Okay.
What's the matter with you?
You definitely will roust them?
No, it's fine. We got tea time, though, today at 2:30, so...
Oh, you're in and out.
Better get your damn clothes on.
Oh, so you're making a call here
Yeah.
about 11:15, making sure they're up and fed.
We are doing 2 bridge tolls today on Veterans Day, yeah.
You couldn't throw them on the Golden Gate Transit? Get them on a bus to meet you here in the city?
Not a bad idea. Well, one of them's 8, so, you know.
And the big guy, he can drive, right?
Not without me.
Doesn't have the license
Not,
yet.
no,
Okay.
that's a permitted driver, and he is not permitted to drive anywhere without me.
And also, that's an initial, like, hey, you're 16, cross the Golden Gate Bridge. Although the old suicide lane is no longer an issue.
Drive to Harding Park. No, we're not.
We're not quite ready for that.
Starting with Harding Park.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mario in Santa Clarita here with Willard and Dibs. Hey, Mario, what are you doing?
What's up?
Yeah, what's up? What's up with you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Anything you wanted to talk about? Or
talk about 49ers? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You're on, Mario. Here we go.
I think they're going to be excellent this Sunday against the Chargers.
What about the Chargers?
I think they're going to be excellent. Like, they're going to show their showcase, their skill.
The 49ers will or the Chargers will?
49ers.
Who are you excited to see, Mario?
Jimmy Garoppolo play at his best.
Jimmy Garoppolo play at his best. I mean, the last 4 weeks, they have been his best.
They've been great.
Statistically, they're right there with the best that Jimmy Garoppolo has ever played. Did you hear Mike Tirico earlier today talking about Jimmy?
I did, yeah.
It was interesting. Like,
biggest move of the year, he said.
Well, look, this obviously, after all of the Garoppolo talk that has happened over a 5-year stretch, isn't it fascinating that there is now a 9-game stretch? There's a 9-game stretch for him to actually paint his entire future. He can still paint his entire narrative over these next 9 games because one of two things is going to happen. He's now surrounded by Pro Bowlers everywhere, and the playoffs are like done because the NFC is so bad.
Taking, yeah.
If it doesn't go well, you know what? All of you who've been against him, you're right. You're right. But if he goes deep into the playoffs for a third time, well, I don't know what you can say anymore because crappy quarterbacks don't do that, no matter what's around them. So that's part of what we're going to get into in a massive football hour that is coming up, starting with Brian Baldinger next, Rich Ornberger at 10:30, and Sean Salisbury at 11. Plus, within the next 20 minutes, we give away Warrior tickets. We'll tell you how coming up next. Don't go anywhere. It is Willard and Dibs. And that's all. What's up next?